don't do that.
Now I remember this cake. Yeah, this cake was super good.
Hey everyone, I'm Sav and this is Lagom Eats. Today we're going to be making a brown butter peach pound cake with peach whipped cream. This cake is bursting with peach flavor, and if you've ever had brown butter, then you know it takes your baked goods from great to absolutely incredible. Let's take a look at the ingredients. We're going to need 3 peaches, 1 cup of butter, 3 eggs and 1 egg yolk, 2½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract, 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1½ cups of granulated sugar, a couple tablespoons of powdered sugar, and 2 cups of heavy cream. Let's get baking. All right, first we're gonna make our brown butter. So we've got 1 cup of our butter going to melt in our pan. We're gonna turn on our stove to just like medium low. You don't want it too hot. We're gonna melt our butter, but we wanna constantly stir it because you want this butter to cook evenly. Now, if you've ever made brown butter before, you know that it can turn from brown butter into burnt butter really quickly. So don't leave the stove, continue to watch it. It only takes like 5 to 7 minutes, but always keep an eye on it. All right, so our butter is melted, and again, just continue to stir it. Now I forgot to tell you, you want to use a light colored pan here. If you have some kind of enamel, like white enamel, that would actually be perfect. This is still kind of hard to see the bottom, but definitely don't use like a cast iron because, like I said, it can go from brown to burnt really quick. So if you have a light colored, you can see the bottom of the pan easier, so you can make sure that it doesn't get burnt. So it kind of starts to foam up now. Once it's melted, just keep stirring. So now it's gonna start crackling and popping quite a bit, but keep going. You wanna continue to let it cook. So keep cooking it. What we're looking for is brown solids on the bottom. So I'll show you once we get there, but don't stop yet. Okay, so look, it's starting to get there. You can kind of see those solids on the bottom. Let's see if I can get some up. So that is what we're looking for. You can smell it super nutty and it just smells incredible. We're gonna turn off our heat and we wanna quickly transfer it into something that is cool because it's gonna continue to cook in the pan. Like I said, it can burn pretty quick. So we'll just pour it in there and see all those brown solids on the bottom? That is all the flavor in that brown butter. Okay, so we wanna let this cool because of course you never wanna add something super hot into a cake batter. I was prepared, I already made some, so we've got our cooled brown butter right here. I'm actually going to save this and I'm making short rib and mashed potatoes tonight. So brown butter is not only good in desserts, but also in a lot of savory dishes. So I'm putting this in the mashed potatoes tonight. So we're gonna take one of our peaches and we're going to dice it up. So cut around the pit. Make sure it's ripe, looks super juicy. These are gonna be great. So not only are there diced peaches in this cake, but what keeps this cake super moist and just bursting with that peach flavor is there's pureed peaches in it as well. So we'll cut up our peaches again, just a little bit into like fourths, so we can put it in our food processor. This one does not want to come away from the pit, but that's okay. Good thing you didn't dice this one up. Just throw that in there. Loosen all my juices. All right, well that kind of failed, but that's okay. All right, let's do this one. All right, before we blend those, we're gonna add in some lemon juice. I need about half of this. We're putting in about a tablespoon. All right, let's blend them up. Whoa. Oops. Try this again. You want them nice and pureed. All right, so they are pureed, and we only need a cup of this for our cake. So we'll measure out 1 cup. Looks kind of gross, like baby food. So we've got our 1 cup for our cake, but don't throw this away or eat it or whatever. We're actually gonna use it for our whipped cream. Let's mix our dry ingredients. We're using 2.5 cups of flour. And again, never scoop out your flour like this. You're gonna get 150% more flour than what the recipe calls for. So, and that's gonna make this dry and dense cake, which of course that's not what we want. So we'll use a spoon, fill it up to the top. It's called the spoon and level technique, and that's how you basically always want to measure your flour unless the recipe states otherwise. Take the back of your knife and level it off. It's 1/2 cup, so we'll do 4 more of those. Now we'll put in 2.5 teaspoons of our baking powder. This one you can spoon out normally, but still you want to level it. And then 3/4 teaspoon of our kosher salt. You always want to add salt to your desserts because it complements the sweetness and balances out the dessert. All right, let's mix it up a little bit. Just get that baking powder and salt all nicely mixed into the flour. By mixing up your dry ingredients instead of adding them individually to your wet ingredients, this allows everything to be incorporated more evenly without overmixing your batter, which again leads to a dry and dense cake. All right, let's mix our wet ingredients. We'll start with our sugar, which I guess isn't technically wet, but we want to mix the sugar and butter together. So we're going to do 1.5 cups of sugar. Pour in our 1 cup of brown butter. That is cold, remember? It smells so good. And see all those little brown bits at the bottom? Again, that's all the flavor. Don't leave those in there. Get all those in your batter. Oh gosh, I love the smell of brown butter. Seriously, add brown butter to any of your cookie doughs or, again, cakes, mashed potatoes, like I said, and it's going to take it to another level. Let's add in our eggs. We're adding 3 whole eggs. And then we're gonna add 1 egg yolk. And remember how I said this cake is super moist? The extra egg yolk helps it to get nice and moist. Keeps it from drying out. Great. Sticking to the trash. Don't do that. Okay. All right, we'll stir that. Let's add in our 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Mix that up. All right, let's add in all our peach puree. Making a nice orangey color, and you can see those specks of brown butter in there. Let's add in our dry ingredients. We'll add in just like 1/3 at a time. Mix it up in there. Again. So I call this a pound cake. Originally though, pound cake is actually 1 pound butter, 1 pound sugar, 1 pound eggs, and 1 pound flour. And that's about it. So obviously we're straying a bit away from the traditional pound cake, but it's got a lot of butter in there, and that's why we call it a pound cake. All right, we'll add in the rest. Now we'll fold in our diced peaches. Now you just want to gently fold them in so you don't puree any of these peaches. We've already got enough of the puree. We want some chunks of peaches throughout. All right, so our oven is preheated to 325 degrees. we're going to use a 9x5 loaf pan. You can either grease and flour this, but the first time I made this, my pans are kind of old, they're not that great. So when I went to go dump it out, half the cake fell out, half the cake stayed in the pan. So very ugly, it did not look pretty whatsoever, but it was pretty savage. My husband and I were like huddled over the counter, just like stuffing our faces with this cake. It is so good. But anyway, so I'm using some parchment paper so it'll come out more easily. But if you have a better nonstick pan, you can just grease some flour and it should be fine. So we'll dump this cake in there. Now we're gonna bake this 325 degrees for about 75 to 80 minutes. While our cake bakes, let's make our peach whipped cream. So we're going to pour about 2 cups of heavy whipping cream into a stand mixer. All right, we're gonna turn it on medium and let it whip up to soft peaks. All right, so it's at soft peaks now. So not quite ready yet, but we're gonna add in some powdered sugar. And this is totally up to you how much you wanna add. Usually about 2 to 3 tablespoons, depending on how sweet you want it. Remember, we're adding some peaches though, so that'll add a little bit of sweetness. I don't want it too sweet because the cake is pretty sweet itself, so I like the cream to be a little less sweet. Otherwise, it's just too much sugar. Okay. So we'll whip this up again to stiff peaks now. And make sure you try your cream. You can always add in some more sugar. All right, so it is at stiff peaks now. As you can see, when you lift it up, they hold their shape. So our whipped cream is ready. Now it's obviously not peach flavored yet, so we're gonna add some of our peach puree. And we're gonna go slow with this though, because we don't wanna add too much, otherwise our whipped cream is gonna fall, because it's a liquid, so when you add a liquid into whipped cream, it doesn't hold its shape as well. So we'll just start with like about a tablespoon, and we'll just gently fold it in with a rubber spatula. All right, let's add another tablespoon. Mix that in. This is gonna be very lightly peach flavored. It's still looking good. It's not too runny yet, so I'm gonna add in another tablespoon. Just add in enough so it tastes like peaches, but again, not too much where it becomes like runny. I think 1 more tablespoon and we'll be good. Let's try it. Like I said, just very lightly sweetened, and it kind of tastes that peach flavor, but it's not super overpowering. All right, our cake is out of the oven. When I inserted a toothpick, it came out clean, so we know it's done. Now we've got to let it cool for about 10 minutes before we take it out of the pan. All right, now we're gonna take it out and put it on our cooling rack. Let's hope this comes out nicely. We did it. Look how gorgeous that looks. All right, now we want to let it cool all the way to room temperature. All right, our cake is cool. It's ready to be cut. Let's go ahead and slice into this. I'm so excited. You can hear it's kind of crunchy on top. Super moist inside. All right, let's plate it up. All right, let's put a little bit of this peach whipped cream on there. Just a little dollop. And I sliced up a few fresh peaches. All right, let's take a bite of this. Some of that whipped cream and that crunchy top. That cake is super moist and you can really taste the peach flavor and a bit of nuttiness from the brown butter. Then that whipped cream just kind of freshens and brightens everything up. It's absolutely incredible. We're gonna be having my in-laws over tonight for dinner. I'm making short rib and brown butter mashed potatoes, like I said earlier. Those are incredible, but honestly, this cake is so good, it may steal the show. I hope you guys enjoyed my brown butter peach pound cake with peach whipped cream. The full recipe can be found on my food blog at lagameats.com. I've got new delicious dishes coming out every week, so hit a like and subscribe below. I'll see you guys next time. Hey-do!